I wanted the movie to look incredibly real, to feel like you were there. Sometimes you can do that by being there, and sometimes you can do it by subtle use of visual effects. Sometimes that just is an extension of sets that you do, and sometimes it's a wholesale kind of building of a landscape.
We always knew we were going to do special effects. It was just a matter of which ones would be the ones that would be the most meaningful to the story. Some are to enhance things and make them bigger, and some are just to create a world that's a future world.
This isn't real.
The movie opens with a nice sunrisey type of grassy field, and you'll see like a flock of starlings, and they'll kind of draw your eye over to the left, and you'll see this giant, massive tanker. And as you pan around, you'll see this massive wall.
See, it was crazy that we found that, yeah. I think it's an old steel mill that is gone, except for the main base retaining wall that's still out there in the middle of the field. In our world, in the finished film, it'll be 3 or 4 times higher, but it's still a massive wall in the middle of a field, and that juxtaposition alone is jarring.
I think Divergent visually is extremely compelling because it's this new world and it's full of new experiences and new walls to sort of explore.
There's subtleties as you look around the wide-angle scope of the city. Because there's no longer cars, you wouldn't have traffic lights. The lines on the asphalt would long be gone. So most of the shops are gone, so we'll kind of bury that. If you get rid of all signage, all pedestrians, all cars, the city automatically looks different, but not so different that it's 1,000 years in the future and it just kind of looks fake.
Go!
When we started, Jim Burney, our visual effects supervisor, told me never underestimate the city. I did not think it was going to be this difficult. There's so much detail that shouldn't be there in our world, and so they paint what they can, but no matter what, when we start rolling cameras, there's a dozen things that we have to remove on every frame of film.
We don't want the streetlights, and we don't want probably mailboxes, and we don't want bus stops. So look at those structures that are in the immediate area, and I paint those out. So the first thing you want to do is just delete all signs of life. That's an undertaking. And then there's the adding the damage or the turbines and all those other things. So when I first met with Neil, he talked about the aptitude test, and that's where Tris goes into this mirror room. And I loved the vision that Neil had for it. When you're in this mirror room, it's really light reflecting around, but the way Neil explained it, it's more geographic puzzle. And it's one that took us, a few months to work out.
For every shot, we've got 6 cameras. So we have 2 cameras kind of facing each other so that you have her face and then her face reflected. And then 4 other cameras to get all the other reflections that are going to go in all the other mirrors. But all those mirrors will be CG. So it's really just one actress on a green screen and 6 cameras.
If you do those sphere landscapes purely in a digital way, like you just shoot the actors against green screen, then it's really just up to the visual effects people to come up with this world. Because we were trying to do them as real as possible, put them into a real landscape. Then you get a huge collaboration with the camera department, trying to do as much as you can in camera. And then the production design, coming up with these sets. Then you're working with visual effects because she can't be burned by flames or a bird claw her in the face.
4 in particular has one sphere landscape where he's on a high wire way above skyscrapers. And the visual of that is actually pretty exciting. We'll have existing skyscrapers that he's on a wire between, but obviously we're not going to go film 1,000 feet between 2 skyscrapers. We're going to have our actors on a green screen stage on a wire with a pad below them in case they fall off, and that entire environment will be computer generated. So it has to be computer generated from scratch, but it has to look exactly like you took a photograph of those buildings. We did LiDAR scanning, which is image mapping of the existing buildings to get every nook and cranny in a model. We did extensive texture photography from the rooftops, from the ground, other neighboring buildings to get every angle. And we'll map that onto our model of the building and create a standard lighting environment so that when you have an actor on a green screen and you throw him up against those buildings, it should look like he was standing right there between those 2 skyscrapers.
Neil sees this movie in a very visual way. His capability of creating a world that doesn't exist is unbelievable.
We wanted to do the train reel. We wanted them jumping on and off the train. We actually got the actors up onto the L. There's obviously limited things you can do on a working train line.
We had to film it in 6 different locations, and our job then is to tie it all together and make it blend so that the audience doesn't realize it was a location and then a set piece and then a stage.
As we finish the movie, we have all this raw footage. We have all these different pieces. We have, Tris getting onto a train car here and jumping off there, and we've got to link them together, and we've got to add a train carriage, and we've got to put it up 7 stories. That's where this incredible work begins with Jim Burney and with his visual effects team to start putting this all together and making it make sense and look completely real, so you can't even put your finger on what's really there and what isn't.
There's a lot of beauty in that. There's a lot of beauty in seeing a movie that visually is stunning and that takes you on a roller coaster of emotions through the characters' experiences. Everyone's afraid.
I know, but fear does something strange to people. Fear doesn't shut you down and wakes you up.
We're doing a lot of different things with music, and we actually have an amazing music team. Hans Zimmer, who's a great composer, is our executive music producer, and then Tom Holkenborg is sort of the main composer. It's an epic adventure movie, and they are the guys to create the music for that. What those guys have been great at doing is getting into Tris's head and making the music and thus the movie feel very intimate, as well as to drive it forward in an incredibly energetic way.
They're gonna kill me.
I'm not gonna let that happen.
We are at the LA premiere, the big premiere. Finally, after almost a year, we shot and began. I think I flew in on March 13th to Shea. We're taking this big journey, and finally we're kind of at the end game, so enjoy.
This is not an end for the film, but this is a good way to sort of land the plane we've been on and sort of hang out for a little bit.
I got to give Veronica credit for creating such an extraordinary world and populating it with characters that readers have loved so much. It's great to be a part of something that's a cultural phenomenon for so many.
I love what Veronica wrote, and I think everybody in the cast feels the same way, so it's nice to be able to share that with fans.
When you write books for a year alone by yourself, you don't expect this to happen, but it's really wonderful.
It's great to see everyone. It's good to kind of have everyone out because we spent such a good time out there in Chicago together, and so it's really cool. It's really cool to see us all, together and celebrating this achievement. We're all very proud of it.
It's been amazing. When you do a movie, you dedicate your life and soul to it, and then you leave, and you get thrown back in the gamut. And so it's been fun to be reconnected with everybody that I haven't seen in a year. I'm so proud of the movie.